Welcome to the Mila Sweet Podcast, where you learn to achieve more with less by being resourceful. And watch me occasionally get off topic. Let's get into the show. Hello. I hope you guys are doing good. I'm really happy to be back. Oh my gosh, another time this week. So I'm still trying to figure out, I have some things planned for my podcast. I have some things planned for the future. But right now, I kind of want to enjoy this as well. Sometimes sticking exactly to the plan is not as enjoyable. So to get me back into it, I'm kind of rewarding myself. And I want to talk about consistency, productivity, and just really balance. So first off, I would look at everything like it's a pendulum that kind of swings. So when you're consistent, when you, productive, when you are looking to make progress or success or have balance, it's more like a pendulum that swings or a pulse or a rhythm. And you're just trying to gauge that rhythm all the time. I think productivity isn't helpful for you if it's driving you insane, right? I would never prefer to be productive, but insane. Obviously, productivity, it might take a minute to maybe learn a new habit or adjust, but really it should make life better. It should make things more enjoyable. And when I say enjoyable, I think certain kinds of pain is enjoyable. Just like when you work out, it's hard and you're like, ugh, but afterwards, you feel like I did this. I am so excited about this. So I like to have that idea when I'm looking at balance. So let's take balance for a moment. I used to think balance was if you do these things perfect, then on the other end is balance. If you eat these things right, then on the other end is balance. And I kind of think that doesn't exist that way. I think balance is more of a pulse of understanding where your body is. What I could eat in my 20s is kind of different in my 30s. It affects me differently. Just a couple years in between having kids, everyone's different. So for me, it has been a huge difference. Just even getting 7 hours of sleep versus 9. You're like, what the heck? Or 7 hours versus 5. It makes a huge difference. So that pulse or rhythm when I was in my 20s is different in my 30s. And it doesn't mean I have to say, oh my gosh, woe is me. I'm slow. I'm lazy. I'm this or whatever. It's more just understanding the dynamics and what I'm experiencing and trying to figure out what that balance looks like at this stage. And no, every day is not the same. Every day is not perfect. And sometimes things are balanced, but they look chaotic. Sometimes if you just take a picture of my house and you're like, oh, she's home, you ever see those moms? I'm assuming they're all on Instagram and they're posting these perfect photos with these perfect wardrobes and everything is looking great. That's fine. The reality is you can have the perfectly balanced kitchen photo picture, but is your life really that? Your kids are going to tell on you. I tell you that all the time. Your kids are going to tell on you. Your spouse, maybe you have roommates and you don't have kids and you're like, what does this have to do with me? Well, I think a lot of times, I can speak. So I was single a long time ago. So I know things have changed, but from my recent encounters and interviews that I have not posted yet with those that have been single, some things are human nature and have not changed. What I mean by that is there's this longing, if you long to be in a relationship or long to be married or long to have commitment from someone, that you always think that these ideals that you have to reach for. And then once you get those things are balanced, you're productive, you're successful. And that's not actually true. Sometimes to be the person you need to be, it doesn't look nice, right? For you to really do work, your inner work, on the outside, it just might not look it's not marketing friendly. You ever try to market something and the packaging is just off, but the product's amazing? Sometimes it just doesn't look good on the outside. As you're doing work and the longing or goals, #goals, relationship goals. I mean, to me, that just sounds so, I would just say, sometimes be careful what you wish for, because the people that we're putting on pedestals or #goals, they actually might not have what you want. And when you find out what they have 10 years later, you're like, whoa, that's what I wanted. So sometimes what you think you need to be balanced is not actually what is necessary. and it's more of a rhythm. So let me, another way to say it would be when you like, I'm trying to think, my brain sometimes mix all these things together and I'm trying to like separate them and it's just like a pile of tangled cords. So, okay, I figured out how I want to say it. So when you're syncing up like your phone with your iPad, with your computer, I have no idea why I said it like that, but when you're syncing it all up, it just felt like that's how I should say it. So when you're syncing it all up, it's kind of like all getting, on the same pace. That's kind of what balance is. So if you are single and you're trying to say, okay, like what do I need to sync up? What does productivity look like for me? Because I personally think if you start getting the things that you need to sync up correctly, you're going to be more productive. Imagine it like this. You're trying to sync up like yourself and then like who you think you are and then like what people think you are and then what you post on the gram and what you might post on YouTube, all these things. And they're not really congruent. A lot of times we're people that we don't really know that we are because we don't spend time understanding who we really are, what we really think, reflecting and holding ourselves accountable. So it's like you don't actually know and you're trying to sync these things up with your ideal goals and what you're willing to do and what you won't sacrifice and all that. But sometimes if you are like, there's things I said like, oh, if I have kids, I'm not doing this. I'm going to always do this. But some things are just things. They're just not as important. When you have a life that you're welcoming, I'm not saying to put everything down, but it's unrealistic that when you embody that role, that you're just going to hang on to these intangible things or these tangible things when there's an actual life that changes you. And so you have to allow for that to happen as well. So if you're like, let's go just back to single for a second, because it's going to get a little bit complicated for the parents and the spouses out there. You're really just doing a lot of discovery of who you are. And what I find that I would say that's super important is don't justify who you are. We all have to go in different areas. So someone might be on an end that's like, I'm going to justify who I am who I am, and I'm not changing. And then there's the end of like, you're ashamed of just even knowing who you are. So obviously there's these two ends of the pendulum. And I'm saying that there's some things about who you are that are beautiful, that are gifts, that are talents. And yeah, you should cherish those. There's some things about who you are. It's like just was planted in your garden of self. And they need to be uprooted. And they're disgusting if anyone is like that. There's things that I know about myself that I think are disgusting. And it's not trying to be rude. It's just keeping it real. And I have to constantly root those things. And I could say, well, that's just who I am. I can just be what. And it's like, no. Don't use that self-discovery to empower you being a douchebag. I don't think that's cool. You can do whatever you want. But I would just say, if you want to invite someone else, unless they're a douchebag, I'm not really seeing how that works well for you. So when you're doing that, I think you want to kind of sift through. And I kind of go based off characteristics, virtues. I compare things also to like the Word of God. And I compare it to research. And I understand for me, I'm like fascinated with research. For some of you guys, that's so boring. But I compare it also to the results I would like to get in my life. And so if you want to be a certain place, you might say, I want to make partner at a law firm. And you realize everyone that makes partner, no shade to anybody that makes partner, works 120 hours a week and they snort cocaine. I really don't know, but let's just stick with that. And you're anti-drug. Like you're like, I would never. Then your goal will need to be finding a route or creating a path where you can make partner and you don't have to snort cocaine. So that's going to take you really figuring out what's important to you, what's important to a partnership. Does that mean you start your own law firm? Does that mean that you do an apprentice under someone and then once it's time, you move somewhere else to a lower firm? I really don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is you still have to be able to take that. Like you're like, well, I have drive, I could do that. Yeah, but you also know that that's something that's important. So you have to figure out how to sync that up. That result that you desire, you have to sync that up with who you are. Because sometimes I believe how you get something is how you keep it, right? It's at least the foundation. So if you wanted to put that into relationships, like friendships or future, monogamy, then you want to really think about who you desire, what they're actually going to desire from you. So I see a lot of people saying what they want, but really you need to think about like what value you have or what can you bring a value to someone else. And I guess if I could talk to my younger self, I would say it's not all about you, right? It's just not, And sometimes it's okay for me not to care about that. Like, it's okay. And for some of you guys where you always been trampled on all your life, I have a maybe what would say a little bit more vocal, stronger views, express them. But some people are not like that. They are very shy and maybe very quiet. I would say in that instance, it's not all about you, but it is important for you to make a statement and decide what you are willing to stand for, right? So, and what I mean by that is like, don't overthink everything, right? Oh, well, should I do it? Like, maybe see that as what it is not as important. And the things that are important for you, once you sift through that, stand on those things, right? Okay, so now how does this look in a relationship? What does this look like with kids, family? I think what's so important is to constantly get feedback from your family, like how you're doing, what's important to them, what you want them to do. And really, it's like a tug of war rope that you're kind of like trying to figure out where the balance at. And you really want to get both ends kind of where it's really pulling and more of like iron sharpening iron. And that's where the real balance and syncing up happens, is constantly asking each day or every week, or I would say if you can ask every week, that's golden. Like, hey, how did I do this week? What kind of mom was I? What kind of wife was I? Oh, this is what I thought you did. And it seems so cliche, but it's really helpful to organically have those conversations. And over time, you'll start to notice like some things that you don't really want to talk about. You'll start to notice things that you're good at, things that are flaws, and you'll also have more of an objective view about it. It won't weigh you down. Also, you'll learn like things that actually don't matter. They're just in your brain and you just got to get rid of them. Like some things I think about like, oh, it's so important that my kids do this. And my kids are like, no, it's not. My husband's like, no, it's not. So what is the big deal? I think that's important. And over time, we start to understand each other and I start to value things that are important to my kids, like just like how they're made. Now, I'm not going to value that my kid loves to eat sugar every day. Like, sure, they can have a treat or something, but I'm just not going to like get sucked into spoiling them on everything that they want to. Like, that's not what I mean. I mean, you're trying to figure out the best sync to move your family, or syncing system to move your family towards where you, is that a word, syncing? Anyway, you know what I mean. To move your family where you want them to go. And I think that's what's important. What kind of family do you want? What are you building your family on? What things do you want to teach them that are going to make a difference or impact for their future? That to me is balance. Maybe you have a different way. If you have another way and it's better than my way, tell me. I want to hear it. I just haven't felt like the actual other we did this day, we checked this off, this is amazing. Actually, sometimes checklists are helpful, yes, for organization, but sometimes if your heart is not in it, if you're not looking at the intent and the behavior behind it, it will make you realize you're just raising hypocrisy. Okay, that is all. Would love to hear from you guys. I cannot wait to get back into the groove of things and to post the other things I've been working on. That is all. I hope you have a great weekend. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.